If you are comfortable with the surface level waifu wars, please click away now. The waifu wars are a distraction designed to keep you from seeing the terrifying truth hidden in plain sight. There is a code hidden inside the character roster of Evangelion, a ladder. It is a specific, sequential map of the human soul's evolution, from the fear of death to the abandonment of the physical form. I know what you're thinking. Bruh, chill, it's just a cartoon. Most clueless guys attempt to analyze these women as if they are dating options or programming languages. But Anno and his staff have built literal archetypes of existence. There are 7 distinct stages, from fear to godhood. Level 1. Hikari Huraki, the Hearth Mother. Most people look at Hikari, the class representative, and see a background character, a generic trope. But under this system, Hikari represents the Sumerian anxiety of the show. Think about it. While gods are warring in the sky and robots are tearing apart the fabric of reality, what is Hikari doing? She is worrying about attendance records. She is making bento lunches. We all share a desperate need to keep daily life functioning in the face of apocalypse. Hikari is the embodiment of that desperation. She is a provider. Her afterlife is the memory of the classroom remaining intact. She knows subconsciously that if the pilots die, the world ends. But if she dies, the home ends. Her survival strategy is the maintenance of human ritual, school, meals, marriage dreams. She represents preservation. Hikari means light, as the light of the hearth fire, the only thing keeping the darkness of the universe at bay. She is the shield for the show's sanity. Without her, there is no normal to return to. She anchors Evangelion reality, so the others can ascend. Level 2, Maya Ibuki, the shy shrine maiden. Moving up the ladder, we leave the civilian world and enter the war room. Yet we find a soul that is still asleep. Maya Ibuki is the shrine maiden of the Geo front. Technically skilled, yes, but spiritually, she is innocent. She exists in the fog of war. Watch her reactions. She is constantly terrified, shielding her eyes from the horror, vomiting at the sight of carnage. Maya represents the state of being unformed. She defines her existence entirely through her reverence for her senpai, Ritsuko Akagi. She is a soul waiting for guidance, drifting in technological limbo. Maya is the liminal girl. She is always almost there, but never the one making the final call. She represents that part of us that is competent but afraid to lead, the part that wants to be told what to do. Her journey ends with a whimper of ecstasy as she is gently collected by instrumentality. She doesn't fight the end, she welcomes the embrace. She is the purity of waiting. Now we leave innocence behind. To climb higher, we must suffer. This brings us to the most real woman in the series and the embodiment of the human struggle. Level 3, Misato Katsuragi, the veteran woman. Misato represents the Hades logic. She is frozen by death. Look at her life. She carries the heavy history of the second impact. She lives in the shadow of her father. She is functional, brilliantly so, but she is haunted. This is the burdened stage of existence. Why does she drink? Why does she seek shallow relationships with Kaji? She uses these things as scar tissue. Her identity is formed over past trauma. She persists not because she is hopeful, but because she is obligated to the dead. Misato is the veteran woman. She creates identification with the audience because she represents our adult exhaustion. She is the successful professional who still feels like a failure inside. She shows us that survival isn't pretty, it's messy. It's beer for breakfast and regret for dinner. But she endures. She is the bridge between the human and the monster. Level 4, Asuka Langli Soyu, the tsundere warrior princess. If Misato is endurance, Asuka is resistance. This is where the ego solidifies into a weapon. Asuka lives by Valhalla rules. Her self-worth is entirely predicated on her combat data and synchronization rates. This is the hardened stage. You think she's arrogant. You think she's a tsundere. She is terrified of the void. She believes that if she is not the golden hero, she is effectively dead. She seeks to immortalize herself through achievement. If you aren't looking at her, she fears she ceases to exist. Asuka represents the competitive individualist who refuses to be absorbed. She fights the collective. She fights connection. She believes that glory is the only thing that solidifies the ego against the nothingness. She is the flame that burns brightest before it is extinguished. She teaches us that the ego is a fortress, but every fortress is also a prison. Now we enter the realm of the posthuman. This is where the show's science becomes a metaphor for our attempts to control God. Level 5, Ritsuko Akagi, the cold scientist. Ritsuko Akagi represents the Enlightenment attempt to solve the human condition through logic. She tries to manage Adam and Lilith, literal gods, with partitions, code, and the Magi system. She believes that if she can just engineer the parameters correctly, she can control fate. This is the engineered stage. Ritsuko has been relying on her mother's soul through a computer program, Casper, to ensure an artificial form of eternity. She is rational, detached, and cold, but her soul has become a product of the system she maintains. She is a cog in a machine she cannot control. She represents the futility of intellect without spirit. She tries to prolong the status quo through science, but science cannot save you from the end of the world. It can only document the collapse. Level 6. Rei Ayanami, the serene ascetic. And now, we reach the edge of humanity, the point where the self begins to dissolve. Rei Ayanami is the Buddhist ideal of dissolution. She is the destroyed stage, but in a liberated way. Asuka screams, Rei whispers. Rei realizes that the self is an obstruction to truth. She has minimal attachment to her physical form. It is absolute asceticism. Rei is the void girl. Her arc is about realizing she never really had one to begin with. She eventually rejects the ego of the creator, Gendo, to return to the sea of LCL. She releases all boundaries between herself and others. She shows us that to truly become one with the universe, you must first agree to be destroyed. There is only one stage left, the stage that transcends all others. Level 7. Yui Ikari, the goddess who chose you. Yui Ikari is the only character who truly won the game. Yui fits the philosophy of cosmic monism. She voluntarily discarded her human form, not to die, but to become a permanent universal concept. She fused with the Evangelion Unit 01 to exist as an eternal monument to humanity. She is the transcended stage. She knew that the sun and moon would eventually die, but as Unit 01, she could float in space forever, standing as proof that humanity existed. She is no longer an individual woman. She is the tree of life. She is the structure upon which the new reality is built. The self ended, but the meaning became absolute. She is the goddess who chose to sacrifice her humanity to ensure the memory of her child and all children could live on. At this point, you should realize that they're more than waifus. They are stages of your own life. When you view the show through this ladder, the confusion vanishes. The ending of the TV series, the clapping, the white void, it all makes sense. It is the completion of the cycle. It is the movement from Hikari's preservation to Rei's dissolution, and finally to Yui's transcendence. The evidence is there in every frame.